anime that first premiered on July 3rd. Celebrated for its complex fictional martial arts system that splits combat disciplines into entirely distinct categories, open-handed strikes separated from lethal kicking arts. This martial arts fantasy built a world detailed enough to feel like it had its own fighting science. Taking one of China's greatest mythological epics and completely reimagining its ancient figures with futuristic sci-fi superweapons, this fantasy adventure transforms centuries-old source material into something that feels genuinely unlike any other adaptation of the same story. Set entirely on an artificial planet where citizens must pass government certification exams just to legally invent or build machinery, this sci-fi adventure builds its entire narrative logic around a premise that quietly satirizes bureaucracy through the lens of childhood creativity. An early and eccentric creation from its manga artist, this quirky series blends classic 90s high school romance with the kind of bizarre, mad scientist science fiction inventions that have no business existing in the same story, and somehow makes it work. Centered on a diary where anything the protagonist draws or writes immediately manifests in real life, this wildly absurd comedy generates its chaos from a single, limitless premise, including, famously, raining actual pigs from the sky. A bittersweet adaptation of a highly influential 1970s dramatic manga that helped lay the groundwork for modern, realistic slice-of-life romance. This mature OVA brings an older, quieter kind of emotional storytelling to a medium that was rapidly moving in other directions. Hidden beneath the wholesome reputation of its creator, one half of the duo behind the famously innocent Doraemon. This surreal dark comedy short reveals a much more psychological and unsettling side of a storyteller most audiences thought they already knew. Shrinking the serious characters of its parent sci-fi franchise into miniature, super-deformed chibi versions of themselves. This rare, self-aware parody completely breaks the fourth wall, treating its own source material as material to be cheerfully dismantled. The first Transformers series produced entirely in Japan, this continuation discarded the final American season of the original cartoon entirely, launching a brand new, localized storyline continuity that told a completely different story on its own terms. Originally conceived as nothing more than a commercialized campaign to sell plastic toy figurines, this mecha adventure unexpectedly grew into an independent, highly praised martial arts fantasy epic that far outlasted the toy line that inspired it. Introduced as a spiritual successor to a legendary mecha series, this classic sci-fi adventure carved out its own identity by being one of the earliest mecha stories to incorporate multi-dimensional reality warping as a central narrative mechanic. Modeled in appearance, attitude, and charm directly after an iconic French film star, the protagonist at the center of this stylish space opera is one of anime's most distinctive rogues, immediately recognizable from the moment he appears on screen. Known to Western audiences under a completely different name, this mecha adventure was heavily edited and combined with an entirely unrelated space anime to create a single synchronized show, a common but disorienting fate for many Japanese productions heading overseas. The final entry in a toy trilogy that capitalized on actual magnetic snap-together robot parts, this late 70s super robot series closed out a chapter of the mecha genre, defined as much by the toys it sold as the stories it told. Halted midway through its original broadcast run because its extreme black comedy and chaotic slapstick violence were deemed too intense for young children, this early Toei comedy series became one of the more unusual cancellations in the studio's long history.